And I see Charlotte, one of our applicants, is also on. I don't know if you want to test your mic.
I'm trying. Hi.
Hi there, wonderful. Okay, great. Well, we're just about to start the meeting. Yeah, so if you can stay muted until we get to your item, wonderful. Okay, and Lisa is working away and we're live.
So
Okay,
I'll
over
hand
to
it over to Karen.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, everybody. Members of the public are advised that individuals and the media may be audibly and/or visually recording this meeting. So with that, I'd like to call this meeting of the Heritage Permit Review Subcommittee, October 21st, 2025, to order. And please note that quorum is present. You have before you, committee members, the agenda for this meeting. May I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented? I see Graham and I see Andy. And is there anyone opposed? I see none. That motion is carried. Just before we go any further, Katie, your camera's not on, so I can't actually see if you make a motion. Okay, just so you, in case you weren't aware of that. Okay. So.
Yeah. Sorry, I know I'm like Sandra. I also am in transit, so
Okay.
I'm gonna be no camera, but I can hear you guys okay, and I know how to I can put my hand up and down using the WebEx feature. So in case I have anything to say, I'll do it that way.
Excellent. Okay, we'll try and watch for that. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. So, are there any declarations of interest today? I see none. Thank you. Moving on to approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. So you have before you the minutes HPRC 25009, September 16th, 2025. May I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented? I see Graham and Carol.
No, actually, I have a question.
Oh, okay.
It's with
yes,
the
go ahead,
minutes.
Jimmy.
I thought on the 271 McNabb Street South that we had said we had asked him to investigate moving that window from the rear of the property to the front for reuse, and I don't see it in there.
No, it is there under point B, subpart I, that the owner be asked to investigate.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm looking too far up. Okay, I apologize.
Got it? Okay. All right. Thank you. But thanks for bringing that to your concern. All right. So I saw Carol and Andy, I think it was. Is that correct? Who made a motion to approve the minutes? Yeah. Okay. Andy. Okay. Is there anyone opposed? Seeing none, that motion is carried. So on to the heritage permit applications for this evening. You'll find those under section 9 of the agenda. And we have quite a full agenda this evening, so it should be a lot of fun. So the first one is 9.1 HP 2025-035 pertaining to 105 Erie Avenue in Hamilton, which is a Part 4 property. And the application is for installation of a designation plaque beside the front door, including drilling 2 holes into the mortar joints and affixing the plaque with stainless steel anchors and screws with anti-vandalism measures as needed. Do we have a representative for the applicant here to speak to the application?
Through the chair, Alyssa Golden, Culture Heritage Program Lead. So staff are helping to facilitate this permit on behalf of the owners. So either myself or Scott Dickinson, Culture Heritage Planner on the call would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, so we'll just move into any questions from the committee then. If you have nothing further to add, it's a pretty simple application. So is there anything the committee would like to ask? No? Okay, great, thank you. Lisa, may we see the proposed conditions, please? Okay, so we have the 2 standard conditions. That looks, yeah, okay, that's great. And so nothing different there. May I have a mover and a seconder to recommend approval of Heritage Permit HP 2025-035, subject to these staff recommended conditions? I see Katie and Andy. Thank you. And is there anyone opposed? See none, so that motion is carried. Thank you. All right, on to the second application. It's HP 2025-036, 600 York Boulevard in Hamilton, part of Dundurn Castle, a Part 4 property. And it's pertaining to removal of 2 dead trees adjacent to the kitchen garden, including cutting the stump as low to the grade as possible and replanting to be coordinated by city staff. And note that the stump is not being removed due to the presence of potential archaeological artifacts. So they're just going to cut right to the ground instead. Do we have a representative from this application to speak or answer any
Hi,
questions?
Karen. I can answer any questions they have. Forestry staff aren't able to attend these meetings, but happy to coordinate.
Okay, all right. So does anybody have any questions for Lisa then?
I think it's going to be that one standard one. So they are going to replace part of that plan from last year. Okay.
Yes, I don't know if it'll be part of the existing plan for it, or they do have another plan coming with Carolyn Samco and Tiffany, I believe, are working on it to do replanting on the site. So I've added a condition just that that replanting plan for the location and type of tree replacements be submitted to satisfaction of staff, if folks are okay with that.
I'm fine with that. Thank you.
Okay, great. May we see the proposed conditions then, Lisa, please?
Sorry, Alyssa, do you have a question before I share?
Oh,
Or are
sorry,
you
I didn't
okay.
see that. Sorry, Alyssa, please, go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry, Steph. And I think Andy also raised his hand. I just wanted to note, it looks like the version of the note sheet that was published doesn't actually include the language for the draft condition. So hopefully it's on the slide Lisa's about to post. I just wanted to point out that discrepancy and apologize.
Okay, so there we go, the 2 standard conditions. And then for those of you who are driving or riding in a train, the condition is that a replanting plan be indicating the location and type of tree for replacements shall be submitted to the satisfaction and approval of the Director of Planning and Chief Planner prior to commencement of this alteration. And then the other 2 are standard, and it's with a 2-year expiry date. Okay, and did I hear, Andy, you had a question as well?
Yeah, through the chair, just curious on location of it. They seem to be fairly close to the larger trees. So is that going to be responsibility of staff just to figure out? Because if you're not taking out the root ball because you can't dig, it obviously has to be put in a different location. You won't be able to plant something in the same location. So I was just curious on that portion, as well as if they have to plant a new tree, then they have to dig. But if there's an archaeological dig or something happening on the site, can they dig to put in a new tree if they can't dig to remove the old stump? I guess this would be a question to staff through the chair. Thanks.
Sure, I can speak to that. So with the removal of a stump, you're looking at quite a large hole compared to replanting. For that first question, so they would just have a monitor, or they would be monitoring as they dig the holes for replanting, which is standard for all of our properties, I believe. And that would be part of the planting plan that they provide to us. And then Carolyn Samco would be working with forestry staff to ensure that the new trees and the location of those trees is not going to be impacted by the existing stumps and the remaining stumps that are in the ground. So it'll be up to discretion of forestry staff who know trees much better than us, for sure.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Lisa. That's all I have.
Alyssa?
Yeah, and I'll just further clarify that this being coordinated with Carolyn as well. Carolyn's familiar with areas that have already been cleared of archaeological potential or archaeological resources on the site. They have extensive records. So typically when they're doing replanting, they do try to focus in areas where they maybe don't have to do more archaeology. But that's something, as Lisa mentioned, we would review as a part of that condition to make sure that that's been addressed.
Great. Thanks, Alyssa.
Okay. Are there any other questions? I don't see any. All right. May I have a mover and a seconder then to recommend approval of heritage permit HP 2025-036, subject to the 3 staff recommended conditions? I see Carol and I see Andy. Thank you. And is there anyone opposed? Seeing none, that motion is carried. Thank you. All right, the application 9.3, HP 2025-037, and that's 264 McNabb Street South in Hamilton, which is part of the Durand Markland Heritage Conservation District, so Part 5 property. And this application covers exterior renovation and restoration work, including replacement in kind of the rotted wood in the soffits and dormers, removal of the rotted porch railing and replacement with a similar wood spindle style, restoration of wood columns on the front porch, replacement of the rotted wood porch steps and skirting, installation of a new concrete walkway, and installation of a new block retaining wall. And I must note that this heritage permit is for the retroactive approval of the work that has already been completed by the applicant. Do we have the applicant present at the meeting? Is that correct?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'm here.
Oh, great. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. So is there anything further you'd like to add to this before there's some questions or discussion from the committee?
Sure. First of all, Madam Chair, let me just say that my apologies for not knowing that the property was under a heritage easement. It's surrounded by a number of fairly shabby rentals, and this is a rental as well. And so I had no idea, but I can assure you that I have used the utmost care in making sure that the replacement and any of the wood structures, the dormers were taken apart. All new wood was replaced. The corbels were taken off, cleaned, painted, and reinstalled. It looks absolutely wonderful. I wish I would have put the easement, asked for the application first, so you could have seen the progress, but I know that Alyssa has been by as well to have a look. I think it's going to be spectacular. It's been quite a process, new roof, number of work inside as well. And we've taken a lot of care on the inside as well, not just the outside, making sure that the balustrade gets all restored going up the stairs, and the stairs have been restored. It is a beautiful, beautiful property and deserves the kind of care that we're putting into it.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions from the committee for Mr. Mancinelli?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Anybody else like to ask a question of the applicant? Okay, Andy, please go ahead.
Through the chair, just more for clarity. So all this work has been done, or is there still work that has to be done? Or is it all completed already?
It is a work in progress. The spindles on the railing is done. It looks exactly like it did back in the 1800s when the house was built. There's some paint that's still going on the spindles and a little bit of work like that. The windows, for example, is work in progress. So all of the original windows and storm windows are in the process of being restored. The storm windows have been taken off, and we're redoing the reglazing of the windows. And we have a professional, a person who has experience in this area that's helping us out, because it's not something that we have done before. And so it still is a work in progress. And anytime Alyssa wants to come by and see how we're doing, you're quite welcome.
Alyssa, did you want to add something?
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. Through the chair, just to add to Joseph's description. So a single permit application was submitted, but some of the scopes of work have already been completed. So staff did break that out into 2 permits to recognize the retroactive approval, which is the current item we're discussing, and a couple of the other items that are ongoing and still require approval, including the window restoration and painting the exterior brick, is the next item. So just to clarify that distinction and why the permits are split up.
So just to clarify, Madam Chair, so we're not talking about the windows or the paint at this time?
That's the next item in the agenda.
I see. Okay.
Okay.
Thank
Since this work is complete, then we need to get approval for this retroactively, and so we treat them separately.
I see.
Okay. So, okay then, are there any further questions at this time on those changes? I don't see any. So, no, there are no proposed recommended conditions since the work has already been completed. May I have a mover and a seconder then to recommend retroactive approval of Heritage Permit HP 2025-037? I see Graham and Andy. All right, thank you. And is there anyone opposed? Seeing none, that motion is carried. Right, so, and now part 2 of this is actually item 9.4, HP 2025-038. So that's the same property, 264 McNabb Street South in Hamilton, within the Durand Markland Heritage Conservation District, Part 5 property. And this is for exterior restoration and renovation work, including painting the exterior brick with mineral paint to match the original brick color, and restoration of the wood windows and storms. And so, Joseph, if there's anything further you'd like to say about this part of the work at this point, that would be appropriate.
Yes, the bricks were painted several years ago, and it would be impossible to pinpoint how many years ago that was. And it was done in a red paint. And it looks, when we purchased the property, it looked quite terrible because the bricks underneath the red paint were that orange kind of brick natural color of the brick. And it shows, and it was showing through in a number of areas where the paint had worn off or the sun had gotten to it. And so we chose a color that is about as close as possible to the original brick. It's a mineral paint that is specialized, and we had it imported in. I'm sure we got hit with some tariffs as well. Came in from the States, from the Carolinas, and it is specialized in these retrofitting these bricks facades. And so we're not done yet with the paint. We started, and there's still a few sections to be completed. The reason why we started on one end that of the porch, the covered porch area, where decades and decades ago, a window was bricked up. There's one on the second floor as well. And I suppose that might have been the impetus to painting the brick in the first place, was when they covered the 2 windows with brick. It's really unfortunate, but it is what it is. And so we still have to finish a piece on the side. It looks, in my opinion, wonderful. The capitals over the windows have been done as well. And some of the natural stone ones we haven't gotten to yet that need to be cleaned, softly cleaned, and just leave the natural stone as it is. As far as the windows go, I think I've mentioned what we're doing there with the windows. They are off. Some have been painted. The interior ones have been painted because they were in pretty good shape. But the storm on the outside are the ones that require a little bit more work. and some actually require quite a bit of work. And that is a meticulous job, as many of you know. And it's not my expertise, but we do have a few individuals that are tackling it that do have expertise. Actually, one does in particular have expertise in redoing these windows. And I think that within the next few months, it's going to take some time. We will have them back up and they will look spectacular. And we've got one color scheme now. Instead, when we purchased the property, as you can imagine, on some of these old properties that have been neglected, there were so many different colors, paint colors, and some greens, and a blue porch, by the way, and a whole bunch of stuff. And now everything's uniform and basically two colors: the color of the brick and the color of the trim. And it's actually quite nice.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that insight. Okay, so within your note sheets, there have been photographs provided of the brick with the old color, the new color, the red and all that. So you've got that information, everybody, and hopefully you've had a chance to review it. There's also a photograph of the entire building, so before and after, currently. So that being said, are there any questions from the committee, please? I see Graham. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. So far, it looks really good. I'm pleased with how the job has been going. But I do have a question about the mortar joints. I noticed quite a few of them in the pictures. They look deteriorated. Are you going to be repairing those before you apply the coat of paint?
Absolutely. And in fact, that has been done, Graham. We had a masonry expert come and use the proper mortar, and all of those joints have been repaired. So that's done, completely done. And some of those areas have already had a coat of paint on them. Some others have not, but we'll get to it.
Okay. Was that reflected in the previous permit, the mortar being repointed?
I don't think so.
Through the chair, no, my apologies. We have met with Joseph on site and the heritage permit application submitted. I don't think that scope of work was previously described. So it is something that we could look to address potentially as a part of this permit in terms of just getting the details of the specs of how that repointing was done. So we have that documented.
Okay, thank you.
So are you saying, Alyssa, that we would add that to the previous permit, the one that the work completed?
Through the chair, Karen, I think we would add it to this permit because we'd want to have a condition that we get those details and information. So even though it is retroactive, I think we would still like to know that information so we could include it as a condition of this permit if that works for the committee.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Okay, so I have a question. I was looking at the colors and it seems to me, is this really okay? So it seems to be moving more from I guess the original patina was kind of a more orangey, and then the red was quite red. And it looks like this new color, the new paint is more, it doesn't match either, correct?
I think it is close to the original color of the brick. Getting it exact is
Mhm.
kind of hard because the bricks are painted red. And so we have tried to take some of the paint off some of them, and it is pretty close to the existing brick color. You have to keep in mind that if once they're painted, it's going to look fresh and new as opposed to having a patina on there. And I think time is going to correct that and give it that better look and better color.
Okay. Yeah, because I guess in some of the pictures in the application, it does look yeah, more bright, right? More, and I wasn't sure if that is in fitting with the neighborhood, the kind of more mature, calm colors. And I don't know what the rest of the committee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I must say that the quality of the photographs may not depict adequately the color of the brick and the color of the paint. Because I did notice that when we took a look at the pictures, it does look a little bit brighter than it actually is.
Okay.
So I think it's just a photography that makes it look that bright, because it really is not.
Okay, yeah, and honestly, within the notes that we were given these photographs, yeah, it between pictures, it looks very different. One, it looks quite salmony, the other one looks much more, yeah,
It's true.
so,
It's
okay.
true.
All right. Alyssa, please.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. And just on that point, I will note that the paint is a matte paint. So part of the glare and sort of visual that we're getting from the images that I took when I had visited on site could be just the freshness of the actual application of the paint as well. And to Joseph's point, hopefully that will also dull over time.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Graham, are you thinking? Speak now.
Always thinking, Karen, but I don't have a question.
Okay. All right then. So, Lisa, may we see the proposed conditions, please? Okay. So that we have the two standard conditions, and then we have two additional conditions. One being that the details for the recent masonry repair and the mortar repointing specifications be submitted, and that the details and specifications for the proposed window restorations be submitted. Okay. So that being said, so may I have a mover and a seconder to recommend approval of Heritage Permit HP 2025-038, subject to these four staff recommended conditions? I see Katie and I see Andy. Thank you. And is there anyone opposed? Seeing none, that motion is carried. Okay, so Joseph, thank you very much for coming in to speak with us. Staff will be following up with you on next steps, but may I say it is as you said, beautiful building. Really pleased it's being taken care of. So thank you for that. And yeah, good luck with your project.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure. Take care. Bye
All
now.
right, thank you. All right, moving along then to item 9.5 on our agenda. HP 2025-041, 58 Markland Street in Hamilton. Another building in the Durand Markland Heritage Conservation District, the Part 5 property, therefore. So it is pertaining to replacement of the existing fire damaged wood windows with new windows to be painted to match the existing color scheme, black and green, including replication of the beveled glass patterns in the first story sunroom windows. Do we have a representative or the applicant here to speak to the application?
Yes.
Okay, welcome, Carol. And I assume staff knows your last name for our minutes?
Elston.
Okay.
E-L-S-T-O-N.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, so you've heard our brief description. We've got notes as provided by staff. I'm just wondering if you'd like to add anything else that hasn't been covered in our brief presentation here.
I don't think so. The windows it's obviously going through an insurance policy, and our policy requires like, kind, and quality. It has that specification, so that is what has been specified for these windows. As you mentioned, they will be wood. The beveled glass will be replicated, painted. It's actually not black and green, it's a black green. It looks black, but it's actually green. So we have that paint because we have the back painted that color, so it will be color matched exactly as to what it is currently. And that's it, unless anyone has any questions.
Okay, thank you. No, appreciate that. That clarification on the color as well. Are there any questions from the committee? See Graham. Please go ahead, Graham.
It's a real shame you have to do this work due to a fire because it will take a beautiful home before the fire. So I'm happy that you're restoring it and not tearing it down like a lot of people would have done. That's really important.
This has
Uh,
been 2 years and 2 months in the making.
Yeah. Oh, you're not having an easy time of it. I know that. Who is doing the work on the windows? I didn't notice a name, or if I did, I didn't catch on.
Okay, so I supplied a quotation from our contractor, Paul Davis, and they have subcontracted that work out to their supplier, who is custom making each of these windows, which is why it is a over 20-week project. So each window is being custom made. They're made in the States. And yes, so it's going through their supplier.
I was just curious because if we ever
Yeah.
want people ever ask us again, we like to be able to recommend a good supplier for these kind of windows because we do get asked a lot, and this is a pretty specialized job that you're getting done.
Right. You know what I would suggest? Wait and see the finished project before you recommend, because you may not, I'm not, critical one way or the other, but I mean, we're very particular. So, we've been working for months and months to establish a scope that, I mean, this is the reason we bought the house in the first place, the historic nature of the windows and the way it looks on the interior and the exterior. And so, part of why this project is taking long is because we've been very particular about the work that's being done and the suppliers they're using. And so I can get you the name. I don't know it off the top of my head. I can get you the name, but I would just caution you, have a look at them before you recommend, just in case. I'm hoping it turns out exactly. I mean, to quote the supplier, we met with him and he said, "You will not know that these windows are any different than what you have." I mean, longer have storms and screens that are interchangeable, but that was a quote from him. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alyssa?
Through the chair, I just was going to clarify, Carol, just so you know, we didn't include the actual spec from your package because there was some sensitive information, but the link to the supplier is in the appendix that we attached to the note sheet. It's Sierra Pacific Windows. It's at the top of the second page of the appendix of the note sheet if folks want to visit that.
Thank you, Alyssa.
So
and I will come by and look at it when it's done, so I will know.
good. So that is the website, but the people who are actually doing the windows that's that's where they're getting the windows made. But there is a subcontractor in between our contractor and Sierra. So there is someone in between there who's doing, they will be doing the custom bevel work and yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Carol. Carol Priamo. Yes. Question, please.
Yeah, this comes up from time to time, and I kind of understand why, and I really have questioned it much in the past, but I was reading today about how there's going to be a bill or something about getting people, not people, but businesses and contractors, et cetera, to use Canadian suppliers. And I just wondered, because I know that there are beautiful reproduction windows being, being done here by people who are fairly close. But I'm wondering, I think I have heard that the windows are extremely expensive here. And I'm just wondering, what was the reason for using an American company to produce the windows?
So that was our question. That was our question to our contractor. And the cost was exponentially more.
Yeah, I thought so. I know.
Exponentially, not
It's
not
too
even,
bad.
not even a little bit
I
close.
know.
A
Yeah,
lot more.
I know.
Which is incredibly unfortunate because we were almost demanding that it be a Canadian supplier.
Yeah,
And so, it's going through an insurance company and we lost that battle.
yeah,
And it
yeah,
was only because of cost.
yeah. Well, I'm glad you explained that, and I hope that there's some way of getting the repro windows here, in Canada to be affordable, or at least it is somewhat affordable.
Yeah.
Because I have heard that many times.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
unfortunate, so unfortunate.
we
Yeah.
had a little bit of an argument with the the contractor or the subcontractor because, what he said to us when we were talking about that, what he said to us, he says, this is a business. It's, I'm not political and this is a business. And, we understand that. But, we are political.
Yes,
So,
right, exactly. Yeah,
you know, we really did want to try and find a Canadian supplier. And there are Canadian suppliers, like you say, but cost prohibitive.
yeah. Okay, well, thanks. Thanks for explaining.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. Are there any further questions from the committee? Okay, I don't see any. So, all right then, Lisa, may we see the proposed conditions, please? So the two standard conditions, and an additional one that the details and specifications for the proposed windows be submitted. And other than that, it's the regular and with the 2-year expiry date. So, may I have a mover and a seconder to recommend approval of this heritage permit 2025-041, subject to staff recommended conditions? I see Carol. And I see Matthew. Thank you. And is there anyone opposed? Okay, I see none, so that motion is carried. Yeah, so, Carol, such a difficult time. I'm
Very.
So glad you're getting it done. It's probably going to be beautiful again. And, we wish you the best of luck with your project.
Thank
So-
you. You're welcome to come and see it when it's finished. It should be, maybe this time next year, but.
I was going to ask, with the speed of it, is a 2-year expiry date long enough? Is that okay? Do you think that should be all right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So they figure they will, assuming they can go ahead and order windows, then it's 20 weeks from there. They haven't been able to do anything about, closing in the building yet because they have to get the windows in first, and then they can go ahead and close the building in terms of insulation and drywall. And then from there, it's a lot quicker. So this time next year, we should be back in there. So
Great. All right.
will
Fingers
we get
crossed.
a copy of the document? It was difficult for me to take notes on that. I couldn't really see it. It's quite small, the conditions.
Oh, absolutely. City staff will follow up with you and give you any further information you need on that. Is that okay? That sounds
Okay.
reasonable, right, Alyssa?
Yeah, I can share them tomorrow morning or
Oh,
this
or
afternoon.
Lisa.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So thanks very much for coming in, and best of luck with finishing this up. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Right. On to our next application, HP 2025-042, 37 Mill Street North in Watterdam. So that is part of the Mill Street Heritage Conservation District, Part 5 property. And the application is for replacement of the damaged front bay windows with new white vinyl windows to match the same design and proportions. Do we have a representative of the application with us this evening? Is that you,
Yes.
Charlotte?
That's me.
Okay, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Is there anything you'd like to add to that brief description I gave?
No, not really. It's the front bay window. There'll be no changes to the actual structure of the bay window. The storms will come off and they'll just be replaced with vinyl windows that match all of the other windows in the house, including the upper windows at the front.
Okay. And we have been provided photographs, so everybody should have a good idea of what we're looking at here. Are there any questions from the committee for Charlotte? Carol, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to confirm that the windows on the upper level are sash windows, and it's not the storms that are sash windows, and that they will be replaced with sash windows and not, just plate glass windows. Is that pretty accurate?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Did I see Graham? You had a question?
Yeah, but Andy beat me.
Okay, Andy, please go ahead.
Yeah, through the chair, I can speak quite a bit about these windows because I know them very well, as I used to live in this house from 2005 to 2016. And just a brief history on some of the heritage permits that had gone through on this property. When we purchased it, it used to have the 9-inch aluminum siding, kind of something that you get out of the 70s, that had holes all over it. Underneath, they had strapped for Styrofoam SM. So when we purchased it, we went through the heritage process, but we wanted to replace it to vinyl siding, which is more in kind of what is underneath the aluminum siding. So that was done, and all the windows themselves that are in the house are vinyl as well. The storm windows that are on the bay, they're aluminum windows, and the windows themselves are single pane glass, very thin enough that if you actually pressed it, you can actually see it deflect. And one of them had a crack in it, which I never got around to replacing. But and then one of the storms had a BB gun done decades ago, but it had a hole in it. So it wasn't perfect, but there was so much else going on in the house, we never got around to working on this window before we moved. So, but as far as I'm concerned, the shape and the design of the window itself is not going to be touched. You're still going to have the metal capping over the bay window itself. All the detail at the tops, corbels, all that's going to remain the same. The shutters will go back on. The aluminum storms will be removed because the center window is completely smashed right through now. Like there's nothing there. It's just all shards of glass. And it will be replaced with a triple pane window that would fit exactly in the opening. In all three, the two smaller ones on the side and then the larger one in the center. And the shutters will be replaced, will be going back up. And the aluminum that caps the exterior was originally the aluminum that was over the entire house. That has to be removed to get the storms out because they capped over the storm, so you can't even remove the storms without removing all that aluminum capping. So that's probably going to come off, and there's a good chance, depending on the condition of the wood underneath it, is just to sand it down and paint it rather than cap it again. But as far as I'm concerned, the windows did need work, and they certainly need work now because it's been smashed. And then just to replace the panes in the original frames, which are not in the greatest shape anyway, is certainly not going to be energy efficient, and it's very, very cold at the front of the house because of because all the glass has been broken, including the storm. So as far as the way I see it, that it's a good product and it'll make them functional windows, because the ones that are in there now are not functional. They've been painted shut for God knows how many decades. It's not going to affect the look of the front of the house at all. It's going to almost look identical. So that's my comments on the project. Thanks.
Thank you, Andy. Carol, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just have one additional question that has to do with what I asked before. And that is the windows that are going to be put into the bay window, will they be able to be opened? Or are they going to be just a single pane, not sash?
They will be sash, so they'll be able to open all three, and that is the style that's there now. There is I guess they used to be opened at one point, so I'll keep the exact same style across. The quote I had was for a single pane in the middle, but I was asked to just consider keeping the style, so I will. And I've spoken to my rep. I just don't have a new quote for you as of yet, but it will be the same style.
Okay, thank you.
I had a question. So, I mean, Andy, you lived there before. Is this why is this window getting broken? Is it like on a really prominent corner or something, or what is going on?
How is it broken?
Yeah.
So it's the center. So the one in the center is broken right through. I was having some work done in the living room from a leak, and a ladder hit the window, and it's very thin glass. And then I actually looked at repairing it, but the cost is astronomical just to repair it, because then I do have two other panels that are cracked significantly, like right across. So I just felt that it's time now to replace everything. I even had the hole from the BB gun sealed at one point in the past, but the cracks have just continued across the window. So it's only the bottom part that is broken. The other panels are just cracked significantly. One from when I bought the house.
Okay, wonderful. I was afraid it was some vandalism or something so. That's good. Okay, just an accident. Okay, are there any further questions then? All right, let's Lisa, may we see the proposed conditions then? Hold on. Yep. Okay, so the same standard 2 conditions around any minor changes and the timeline of 2 years from now. And and then the additional condition that the details and specifications for the proposed replacement windows should be submitted prior to doing the project.
Okay.
Okay. So may I have a mover and a seconder to recommend approval of the search permit 2025-042, subject to the staff recommended conditions? I see Graham and I see Andy. Thank you. And is there anyone opposed? Okay, seeing none, that motion is carried. All right, so thank you for joining us, Charlotte. Really appreciate you taking your time. And yeah, good luck with the project, and staff will follow up with you on any next steps.
Okay, great. And thank you for getting me on the agenda so quickly so I can get it fixed.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Winter's coming, right? So
yes. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Have a nice evening.
You too.
So next application 9.7 HP 2025-039, and it's 265 Mill Street South in Flamborough, and this building is known as Brayborn. It's a Part 4 property, and this is rather extensive application, so I'm going to read it out loud. Removal of the second-story addition on the eastern side wing, removal of the existing one-story covered front porch, restoration of the exterior masonry facades and foundation as needed, repointing of the brick chimney, repair and painting of the existing wood siding and shingles in the west side addition, restoration of the wood shutters, removal of the damaged historic wood windows, and installation of new aluminum-clad wood windows with simulated divided lights with matching design and proportions, restoration of the front entrance and second-story doors, wood surrounds, and side lights, installation of new eaves troughs and downspouts, construction of a new covered porch addition, construction of a new hip roof on the one-story side wing, and conversion of a portion of the front (south) lawn to surface parking. Do we have a representative for the applicant or representative here this evening to speak to this application?
Hello, can everyone hear me? It's Kathy Stacy speaking.
Okay, Kathy, welcome. And yeah, so is there anything you'd like to add? I mean, obviously we have extensive documents provided before the meeting and everybody's taken a look at them, but if there's things you'd like to, some context you'd like to provide, please take 5 minutes and
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
So just for everyone's benefit, the building was originally a single family dwelling, and it's actually being adapted into form part of a new Montessori school. And there'll be an addition to the building that will become, the predominant part of the school. And then the building itself will also be converted to the interior for some classrooms and office space. So that's the context of, the work and why there's quite a bit of adaptation to the building. I know that in your package, you were given, I think, the updated CHIA, the conservation plan. There's also a construction monitoring plan specific to the heritage requirements for the construction. And then also there was a documentation and salvage report. So unfortunately, the building has been subject to a huge amount of vandalism over this past number of years while it's been sitting vacant, going through site plan processes and some redesigns and reconfigurations of how to actually develop the property into the school. So the interior of the property is, and that's contained in the documentation salvage report, you can see is almost gone. There's not really a whole lot there. So really what we have is the stone massing of the structure. And am I able to share my screen, Alyssa, or?
I think, yes.
Yeah, Kathy, you should be able to. There should be a share
Oh, there we
button
go. Okay.
at the bottom, and you either share your screen or whatever application you have open.
So do I have, can you see the heritage permit?
We're seeing your slides, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I move to, this is what the property looks like now as you approach from the driveway off of Mountain Brow Road. So you can see there that mostly what you're seeing is just the massing, the structure. And it is boarded up. The owner has gone to extreme measures to try to keep people out of this building, but they seem to still be able to keep getting in. So although it looks sort of not as wonderful as it did certainly back in 1846, it's it does still have its its 3-bay facade. It has its kitchen wing that was added on at a later date, and it's stone massing. There you can see as we're moving around to the side of the building and the back of the building, that's the west side. There were some later additions put onto the building through the 40s and even later. That's the back of the building. But you can just about see at the top there the original hipped roof that would have been on the original stone building. So I'm not sure if you can see my pointer there, but you can see where the stone building ends, and then we have a stucco. There's actually brick behind there. And then if you look up at the top of, you can see the original hipped roof sticking out there. So, but most of this is being retained and reused. The part that we're sort of most concerned with is this front facade, which we'll call south. And then the west, there's a west wing to it as well that we're more concerned with. This will stay. There is some of this that's being removed just to accommodate roof structures and classrooms. And it will be taken back to what that side to the east kitchen wing. If you see there's 2 windows in that stone facade there. There was originally 3. And you can see there where that's that you can sort of zoom in, you'll see that it was, you know, blocked in at some point a long time ago in the past. But that is actually going to be opened up again to its original size. There'll be a new to match exactly stone sill, and then the stone headers, and then a window to match will go in there as well. So that's the work that's for the I don't know if that's, you know, answers the questions about the removals of the that great big carport will get removed. That top sort of greenhouse thing, it is actually greenhouse, it's all made out of glass. And then the side wing that looks like stucco, and then the top that looks like stucco. So really what we'll be back to is what was the original massing of the building. And then the porch, so there's a talking about a new porch, a new covered porch that's being proposed. It's all going to be wood, a 2-story porch, not exactly as it was originally, but certainly in the Georgian style. And certainly if we move back to what's there, much more in keeping than that sort of rectangle that was built on sort of in the 50s. So that's the porch. It is all wood and sort of built up applied moldings and the columns, etc. So then I wanted to show you what the basement will remain. There is consideration for the basement, the foundation walls as well. They will be repointed, and also if there is construction techniques like grout being used, it's going to be like lime based, and it's also going to be under low pressures. So we won't get into sort of using the more modern kind of techniques. There we show you, you can see the pink, what was the original, that was the original house. And then you sort of see then the kitchen wing that got added on about, we think about 1860. And then these other areas that were added on at later dates. But what we're keeping is the yellow, that's the sunroom, the pink, and then the blue. And then the green are staying, although they are of much later date. And then this is upstairs. And you can see that we had the pink, which is the original structure. And then the green will stay as well, although that's of a much later date. That's that stucco bit that you could see on the back. So that's, and then here we go with what it sort of looks like. Everyone can see that. The architects, Wilmot Strickland, have done a great job on really keeping, you know, the original features, the windows, restoring that, putting back in that center window in the kitchen wing, restoring the hip roof to what it was, and then that single-story kitchen wing. That is how the roof was when that was built on, we believe around about 1860. And then again, you can see, looking at it from the bottom view, there is from the east. So that's as you drive up the driveway, what you'll see. The school addition is actually set back, and it only joins the building in a very small area that makes sort of a vestibule. So you go between the new building and the old building just in this one small area, which I was quite happy about because it's less intervention to the actual heritage building, and they're also both very distinct, the 2 different buildings. And the newer building is set back from the heritage building. This was just to give you an idea of what we're sort of dealing with now, with windows and either not being there at all or being in such a condition that they're, you know, a little bit, you know, having a little bit too much to end up restoring them. And then we've got some more pictures on that was the other side as well. That's the west side that you see there at the top of the drawing there. So you see that side porch. Actually, no, that is the back. Sorry, here the bottom one is the west side. I'm getting confused. And then the other question that had come up, I think, or the other thing that we were speaking about was the south surface parking. Sorry, I picked up a bit of a one of these fall colds and I just having trouble. So if we go to, this is the landscape plan and driveway plan. You can see the building there. And then the new building setback. So that's the original heritage building. And then, but I think what we're speaking about is this south area towards the, I guess we'll call it the corner of the property. And there's sort of been there's an old tennis court in that area right now. The driveway off of Mountain Brow Boulevard, it is not the original driveway. The original driveway was off of Mill Street, but that was a very, very long time ago. That was changed really in sort of the early 40s, maybe even a little bit before that. So we sort of recognize this driveway and layout as being, you know, of character to the property, being off Mountain Brow Boulevard. But that's the plan there for the parking, which is they do need some extra parking on the site for staff, and then there's a footpath that connects where they can walk up from the parking. Most of the trees and what you see there, they'll actually buffer this sort of corner, I'll call it, to provide some sort of privacy. And that, you know, you won't see from Mill and Mountain Brow that, you know, there's a parking lot there. In terms of the restoration itself, the masonry work, which includes the mass masonry and the chimney, they are going to be, you know, restored, conserved in a way with, you know, lime mortars, only raking out what joints have failed. So if they don't need to be repointed, they won't be. Sort of that little bit of a conservative approach. The windows are going to be replacement windows, and they haven't exactly been decided just yet what they're going to be. They'll match in the opening size. So the opening sizes will stay the same. And we're looking to match them in the number of lights. So if there's a 6/6 or a 9/9, or 9/6, I think we have on some of the windows, then they would match. That side wing to the west, which I'm going to try to see if we can find it again. There it is on the front. You'll see it on the south elevation, just to the west. That is actually a wood structure. It is a later structure. It's not original to the building, but it is going to be restored and have new windows. And then I already explained about the porch, which will be all wood as well. So I think that's kind of a summary of it.
No, that's
And
great.
any
Thank you.
questions? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, yeah, we should open it up to the, Alyssa, please go ahead.
Thanks, Karen, and thank you for that, Kathy. And just for some context from a staff perspective, the way that we had actually framed the designation bylaw for this, we recently designated it, was in relation to an understanding of this adaptive reuse and development that was approved through the rezoning process. So a lot of why certain parts of the building weren't included in the designation bylaws, because we understood that generally where the renovations were going to happen and tried to frame it in that way. And then I just also wanted to just follow up on the extent of the interior features that have now been damaged and lost. And I know, Andy, you had brought this up at the main Heritage Committee previously. When we had passed the designation bylaw, we did not know the extent of that damage and removal at the time. We had engaged with the owner, but hadn't received confirmation. So we do acknowledge through Kathy's reporting the state of those features and the damage that's already been done. And we wouldn't typically include interior features for this type of new private property designation, but had included them because the original plan was to try to restore and maintain them. So it's unfortunate that damage has happened due to the repeated vandalism, but just wanted to acknowledge that that has been recognized through this process, and that yeah, in terms of any sort of issues that folks might have in terms of that loss, that that doesn't need to be addressed through the heritage permit.
Okay, thank you. If you could no longer share your screen, then I could see the rest of the committee. Thank you, Kathy. Okay, so are there any questions then from the committee? Andy, please go ahead. And just one more second. Kathy, Stacy, could you stop sharing your screen, please? Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Andy.
Okay, through the chair, first of all, I'd just like to personally say that I think it's fantastic that the building is going to be saved. I know it's been a long time. I believe it was 2015 when I went to a sale when the gentleman that passed away and they were clearing out the house, and that was back in 2015. Over the years, there's been several rumors of different people buying it. It's a huge property. I believe it's about 5 acres. So there could have been huge development, which wouldn't include the house. So personally, I'm thrilled that the house is going to be restored. Just a couple of questions on the front porch. The front porch, the one that's there now, is any screaming hell as we see it. But the new porch, if you look at the old picture, it had a sort of a lean-to off the main entrance. You're not going to go to that route. It's basically going to be the pillars in the main entrance above the door, and then it'll just be walls going east and west. Is that correct, Kathy?
On the porch itself?
Yes.
So the porch, it won't be enclosed anymore. So right now it's sort of enclosed with screens and what have
Yep.
you. So it'll be open, 2-story porch. The idea will be that the upstairs door will not be used because, you know, there's small children. So that the upstairs porch is really just for decorative. It won't actually be used. But it's although it's not, and there is an original picture in the packages, the chia and the documentation salvage. Although it's not you know, exactly as the original, it does have that, you know, nod to it where it is the 2-story. It is a Georgian style. Oh, there we go. So there we go. And it you know, it has that symmetrical sort of look to it. The columns, everything on this porch that Craig and his team have designed is very Georgian. I think they definitely got that right. And so I think you know, they've just done a great job with everything, how they have everything there so symmetrical. The shutters, the windows. So that is the plan for it, but it is all an open porch. I did actually want to mention that the doors, the upstairs and then the first and second floor, they're more of a whole complete entryway. They have side lights and etc. They are all actually in good condition, including most of the hardware. So they will be restored because they're, you know, good working order. And then, which will give, you know, quite a bit of that original character to the building. But yeah, so the porch, like I say, it is an open porch like it originally was, just in a little bit of a different configuration.
Okay, thank you. And one more question to the chair. I'm sure it's in here somewhere, but as far as redoing the stonework, is there going to be a whole process of the repointing of the entire building, or just where needed?
So the idea is where needed. I suspect there's, you know, there's going to be quite a bit that's going to need it. But we also want to match in a color, and then also we want to match the aggregate and the type of material. So it'd definitely be a lime-based type of mortar. But we have to remember that sometimes when we try to remove mortar, you know, we cause more trouble than you know. So we just want to do what we have to do, but also recognizing that you know, there's some areas that definitely need you know, just some really good, you know, kind of, you know, putting back together. There's some stones around the foundations that just need a little bit more attention and what have you. If there was any stone to be replaced, it wouldn't be replaced. We would use old stone. There is stone around the back of the property that has been hidden since those additions were built on. So, and again, through that hidden stone, you can actually see that some of the reports. We can see what the pointing looked like, and there's sort of a bit of a time capsule because they were hidden by those additions, and now they've been exposed through the having to dismantle the inside. So really the stone, it should just stay standing just as it has for all these years, and really look original.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all I have right now.
Okay, thank you, Andy. Alyssa, please go ahead.
Thanks, Karen. So just a few things to add onto that from staff's perspective. In terms of the porch, we didn't include the existing front porch in the designation bylaw, also understanding that those renovations were going to take place, and find the proposed porch design, although obviously not a replication of the original porch, is sympathetic, as Kathy was outlining. And I do want to note that Craig is also on the line from Wilmot Strickland in case there's follow-up questions about that and the design work. And in terms of the masonry pointing, Kathy's report does speak generally to the expectations for that approach. We did include a proposed draft condition that would have the final specs for any of the masonry work to come back through staff, or to be in conformity with our masonry restoration guidelines. So just wanted to highlight those two items.
Okay, thank you. I see Matthew, you have a question? Please go ahead.
Yeah, through the chair, this is for staff. I have a quick question related to the city's masonry restoration guidelines. Does stucco fall within the scope of the masonry guidelines? I know there's quite a bit of use of stucco in this project.
Thank you, Matthew. I would have to take a look at it off the top of my head, but I would say in terms of this particular property and the scope of what is designated under the bylaw for the property and what's being proposed, it's primarily dealing with the existing masonry facades, not the stucco facades. But actually interesting that we have Kathy on the line because she helped develop our masonry restoration guidelines. So I don't know if you recall off the top of your head if there's
Yes, I did. Thank you for
rough cast stucco parging or other measures in there that I'm not familiar with off.
There is. We did
the
speak
fly,
to
yeah.
stucco back when we were developing those guidelines. So in this particular project, the stucco actually is on, you know, the north elevation. The stucco is not, you know, it's not original. So what, you know, my concern more becomes is about building envelope and how this building envelope is going to function for particularly this is at the back of the property for the stucco. I'm not so concerned about that. I'm more concerned about the building envelope, which will, you know, create, you know, a positive environment for our stone, etc. So But I think, like in this instance, the stucco is not, you know, have to be done original. There's going to be some new stucco as well. So again, it's difficult for Craig and his team to create specifications that would have part stucco that say might be a lime base and part stucco that would be a like a Portland base. But if we end up with a new stucco on this building on the back of it, then I wouldn't be concerned about that. But to answer the question about the masonry guidelines, we do have stucco in there. Traditionally would be lime. I believe if we took samples from the back of this building on the stucco, they would not be lime because of the date of that stucco. So, and again, in looking at the bigger picture, a little bit more concerned about the building envelope and how it's going to function. So the stucco is likely to be some, and you know, there's some great products these days that do allow for breathability. You know, would I use them on something like Dundurn Castle? No. But in this situation, it's at the back of the building. I think that's the best way to go. And I do think that's the plan.
Okay, thank you. Before we get to our next question, I'll ask Alyssa if you have something further you would want to say.
Thanks, Kathy. Yes, through the chair. So just I provided a link in the chat to our Masonry Restoration Guidelines. Section 9, as Kathy just mentioned, does speak to approaches for historic exterior stucco. But to be clear, in terms of this property, none of these stuccoed portions of the building are protected under the designation bylaw, so aren't within the scope of this particular permit and the adaptive reuse of the site.
Okay, thank you. I think I saw Katie had a question. Yes, please go ahead, Katie.
Sure, thank you. So I just wanted to clarify for the windows, the note sheet for the application seems to say that the windows, like the historic windows, are damaged and they're being removed, and new aluminum clad wood windows are being installed. Whereas the appendix seems to show, and I'll have to admit, I found the appendix very confusing in this application. I think because there were two versions of the CHIA, it messed me up. But the page I'm looking at is page 72, which has the plans, and then it seems to have some highlighted areas saying like that the blue windows are for restoration, and there's only a couple windows that are going to be new. And so I just wanted to clarify whether the existing windows are being restored or whether everything is just going to be new.
So I think when on further examination of the building and getting inside there, as you can see, it's quite difficult to see what's what. They plywood to keep the vandals out. What they've had to do is actually plywood both sides of the window. So what you see on the outside, they also have plywood on the inside. And somehow people still manage to get in there. But so a number of the windows are very badly damaged. In this instance, what's happened, so you know, there was a revision to the report and what have you. What's happening is that all of the windows are going to be replaced with the same type of windows, so the same standard in terms of thermal standard, et cetera, so that the building will all be operating under that one standard of window. And for continuity, rather than just keeping two windows that perhaps there could be two restored, it is going to be a school with small children in it. So there's also some issues there surrounding operability of the windows. And I think really, you know, ultimately for this building, we're going to keep the window opening sizes, like in the opening sizes are going to stay the same, and that's important because that's what's giving its proportions, the building, its historical proportions, and then matching the glazing patterns on, you know, the number of lights in the windows. So they are all new, and there will not be any of the windows being restored.
Okay, great. Thank you for the clarification.
Okay. Thank you. Graham, please go ahead.
Hey, well, Kathy, thank you very much. Good to see you again. When it comes to these windows and being replaced, why are you choosing aluminum cap wood when you can get modern coated woods that'll last and perform as well as the metal ones and more match the historic nature of the house?
So that's something that we could have a discussion about. I think right now, the recommendation from Craig and his team is to have the aluminum clad. They are a fairly kind of typical window that they're wood on the inside. They're all wood, but they're just clad with aluminum for the outside. But then they have their wood on the inside. They could be painted or they could be a natural clear coat wood. But I think really what it's about is functionality, but also getting windows that are going to be at a given they have to have so many a price point that which the aluminum clad ones I think that generally tend to be a little bit more cost effective than the all wood ones. And then I really think it's about maintenance as well, because we have to remember this is it's not a home anymore. It's not someone's home. It's actually an institutional building, right? So I think that's where the what was driving the aluminum clad. Typically, there's a couple of manufacturers that make those kind of windows. We do see them a lot in heritage buildings. I think we may even have some of them at one of our City of Hamilton buildings years ago. Maybe Alyssa could speak. And again, I think it was a library or something. Just being that kind of building where that's just going to work out better for maintenance and operation for the owner.
Yeah, but so we're looking at a designated building, and I think visual appeal wise, the painted wood always looks nicer than the aluminum clad. And when it comes to institutional building, I find that the maintenance is less of a hassle than for a homeowner, because they will have staff, they will have normal expectations of doing maintenance. They'll be hiring people to clean their east trough as opposed to doing it themselves. So I think that's less of a concern than a residential property.
Okay, so something to consider. Carol, please go ahead. You had a question? Oh, I think you're on mute.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to Graham's that is actually my only question about this whole development, which I think is fabulous. Incorporating, the school with the historic building. And my my concern is over the windows. And I would I'd like to see a comparison of the kind of window that Graham is suggesting and the kind of window that is being proposed. They do look quite different. And when there's so much work being done on this building to bring it back to the Georgian aspect of it. I'm just, if it's affordable, I will, even if it's not, maybe they could get maybe there's a heritage, I should know about this, but I'm not really up to date on these grants. But I would definitely agree with Graham as it is a designated building. Yes. So that's my input there.
Thank you, Carol. I know that there is one of the conditions is that final specifications for the replacement windows be submitted. Whether we want to leave that in the hands of staff or whether we want it to come back to our committee, I guess, is a decision that we can make. Please go ahead, Alyssa.
Thanks, Karen. I'm not sure, Craig, if you maybe have any perspectives to share in terms of the approach for the aluminum clad. I know it is a pretty common approach for non-residential properties from as Kathy was speaking to, maintenance, durability, but also sometimes even warranty coverage, the unfinished wood treatment of the exterior part of the windows can sometimes be challenging in these kind of scenarios. So I'm not sure if you have anything else to maybe add to that, or if you have any examples you could share that might be helpful for the subcommittee.
Yeah, nothing. I have nothing really to add. Kathy was pretty good at explaining the rationale behind it. I will say, I mean, a lot of it really comes down to maintenance, which is, we get that, in our office, generally across the board on most projects, heritage or otherwise these days. It's pretty common, right? Everybody has concern about maintenance, so we do that quite a bit. And as you noted, we've done quite a few heritage projects with an aluminum clad on the exterior. There's a few that do it quite well, depending on who the manufacturers are, but the detailing is very similar. There may be a slight difference in the finish, I suppose you could argue, between what a painted wood and pre-finished aluminum look like, but the profiles are very similar. The glazing, the beads, the mullion detailing or mutton detailing is the profiles are all the same. So that we can achieve the look, I think, quite convincingly. But I don't disagree. I don't really have personally an issue with doing a pre-finished wood on the exterior either. But I do think that would be. I have to speak with the owners, and I think it would be an exercise in pricing and whatnot to see if it's if there is a benefit one or the other. But I don't think that would be unreasonable to look into that and have a bit of a comparison. As it was suggested by one of the members, just to have something to compare between the two and make a choice that way. There is other painted wood on the front porch is going to be painted wood, for example. So there will be some things. There is going to be maintenance. So to say it's just the windows, I think that's not unreasonable, but durability. You've got kids running around, things get banged up. That was the intent, was for durability and lower maintenance. But that's something we can consider, and we'll speak with the owners about that.
Okay, thank you. Carol?
Yeah, I think what it is that I'm sort of not sure about is that with the contemporary aluminum clad windows, I'm very familiar with historic windows, the actual reproduction windows, etc. But I would really appreciate being able to see any building that's heritage or designated that has this on it. I would really like to see that, because since I've been looking at heritage for so long, and if I looked at the aluminum windows and they look fairly good, I mean, it's not plate glass. I mean, really, there's a lot of that around. I would really like to be more educated on that. So does anybody have an address for me to look at tomorrow or in the next little while? A designated building, like Georgianish, maybe.
Alyssa.
Through the chair to Carol, I feel like off the top of my head, the Lister block windows are aluminum clad, but I'm just trying to find those details to confirm. It's obviously a different style building, but it's a simple hung approach, although they're not operable, but it did match the profile.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure, but I can confirm that and send that information out to the group.
Yeah, I really would like that, because that seems to be my one kind of gap when reviewing
Yeah, I can speak to the through the chair. I can speak to the Lister block. So they are metal windows. I believe that back in the day when we were all involved in the project, seems like a long time ago now, they did actually, out onto King William Street, retain a couple of wood windows. But again, recognizing the owner and the intention there to keep these couple of wood windows just to show what had been there in the past. But otherwise, the building needed to function in that commercial sort of context, right? So they are metal windows. Alyssa's correct on that.
Thanks, Kathy.
Okay, thank you. Graham, you had a question?
Well, this is more of a comment than a question. When applicants are bringing their questions to us or their projects to us. I think it's really important that they're asked to include the manufacturer's sales guides of the windows they're thinking of, because we're being asked to make a decision on these windows without knowing anything about what they want besides they're going to be 9/6 or 6/6, depending upon what was in there before. So I think if we knew what their brand was, what the quality of the molding was, and how it's going to look, it helps us frame our answers or questions. Because like I say, I know there's modern wood treatments out there that perform as well as metal finishes. So we know they're there. But if we have an idea what they're talking about, it makes our job a lot easier.
Thank you, Graham. Alyssa?
Through the chair, I do not disagree, Graham. I will say that we did ask for this information to be provided. Obviously, this is a very substantial project. There's a lot of moving pieces. There's certain aspects that they wanted to be able to get started on as they also submit for a site plan. But we did strongly encourage that that information be submitted at this time if they had it. And if not, that we would look for a condition, but there could be questions from the subcommittee. So from a staff perspective, I want you to be reassured that we do we do ask for that. And sometimes it's a balancing act of how much information is sufficient for you folks to be able to provide your advice, and we recognize that sometimes not all that information is there, and there might be recommendations for certain things to come back through you if you don't feel comfortable.
Yeah, I don't feel comfortable on these windows, so I'm what to ask if we could parse out the windows part and let them get started on everything else and come back and look at the windows.
I'm not sure about how we can do that. I could leave that with staff. You could figure out how we restructure this such that we have part of it approved, but the other part is like there's one piece that's still cleaved out.
Yeah, through the chair, if the concept of the window replacement is supportable, but just the details and the specs is what you folks want to come back through you, the current draft condition related to that is that it would come back through staff, so we could tweak that condition, that those details come back through the subcommittee. Not sure what the timing would be, Kathy and Craig, on your folks' end in terms of that, but that could at least allow the remainder of the application to proceed, and that condition would require review of and approval or advice on those back through you folks before they're implemented.
Yeah, I think, sorry, Kathy here through the chair. We can come back with the windows. I think to set some context here, and yes, staff did ask us for information about the windows, but I think if we, what we really have to do here is that, this is a very substantial project. The building is in a situation where, it is at risk. So trying to move forward with, a sort of a complex process, this is site plan, there's building permits, etc., developing all of the plans and specifications for the work, not only to the heritage building, but also the new building. It's a monumental task. And I think really the windows themselves, the important, I think, piece here for everyone to remember is that maintaining the openings, the proportions, the number of lights, the light patterns, glazing patterns, is what's really actually at stake here. That's what's really really important in terms of the windows. But in the grand scheme of this whole entire project, we have masonry structure, we're building a new structure next to an original foundation. Those kinds of technical details and engineering details and all of those things that are, Craig and I are working on, are, they're very important parts of the project as well. I'm not saying the windows aren't, but I think fixating on, one exact, portion of the building. We'll come back with windows. I think Craig and I agree on that right now. We'll pick one. you know, in consultation with the owner. But again, that was why right now with all the moving parts, as you know, Alyssa had mentioned, and the building being at risk, we've seen all the vandalism, you know, that wanting to just keep moving, which is, you know, one of the reasons that some of these final details about which window, that's just why it just wasn't there. But we can come back and I'm gonna put hold fire under Craig and I's feet to get back to you next month with the windows.
Excellent, thank you. Oh, okay. Craig, please go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna add to that, just to say, we're concurrently running through a site plan application, and we're working to a fairly aggressive timeline from the owner's perspective in terms of when they want to be in and operating. So I think it's just a little, maybe caught us a little prematurely to have a window specified when we're still just kind of working through construction drawings, and it's going to have to be something that we priced and have contractors get pricing and whatnot. So to have the exact manufacturer picked for this hearing or this meeting date was maybe just a little early for us. But to Kathy's point, yeah, we can certainly come back with a window specification for a specific manufacturer. The ones we'd be looking at would be all very similar, and they would, you know, from our perspective, have to meet that standard as well, and have that be able to have that proper look that would satisfy that kind of a heritage look. And again, whether it's pre-finished wood or pre-finished aluminum, but I think we're just, you know, we're trying to keep moving on a timeline, like I said, to keep the site plan application moving as well. And we can certainly follow up with that, and whether it's through staff or whether it's through another meeting with the committee, that's we can work around whichever that is.
Yep.
Again, as long as the as Alyssa said, you know, the attitude is that the idea of replacing windows is supportable. It's just what's the actual product.
Absolutely. Thank you. Graham, you had something you wanted to add?
Yeah, so I say we're not trying to slow you down, as Kathy knows. We're just nitpicky kind of people. The whole project, I'm going to say, I support all of it. It's just that one little detail when you see aluminum clad just doesn't go with the Georgian. It's in my head, and if we can look at it, great. If we can come to agreement, even better. Right? That's all I like to do.
Yeah.
Thanks, Graham.
I have one question which hasn't come up yet, and I can't tell from the photographs whether there are mature, you know, / heritage trees on this property, and are there any around that are going to be maintained? I can't quite tell from the drawings either.
So I can speak to that through the chair, to the chair.
I am the chair.
Yeah, exactly. So because this is a part of a bigger site plan application process, so this is it's coming under a development plan. There's some natural heritage are involved, and they look at trees and all of this sort of landscaping and seeing what's going on with all of that. So I know that a great feature of this property is the trees. So natural heritage don't normally let the trees go too easy. And I think for the most part that the trees are maintained, the landscape as it is, and even the layout of it is maintained. There's some being added, and there may be one or two that are just not in a good spot for you know, building the new building that may have to go, but that will be controlled through site plan approval process.
Okay, great. I'm glad someone's looking at it then. That's good to know. Thank you. Alyssa, please go ahead.
Thanks, Karen. And just building on that, in terms of the actual designation, there are no trees included in the designation bylaw, recognizing it was going to be regulated through the development application process. So there is nothing applicable in terms of this heritage permit process for that.
Okay. Okay. Are there any further questions then? I see none. Excellent. Okay, Lisa, may I see the proposed conditions, please? So there are the two standard conditions at the bottom, and then quickly run through. The first one is around monitoring for removal of the second story addition on the eastern side wing. Okay. And the second one being detailed drawings and elevations for the adaptive reuse of the historic building, including the proposed front portico and upper balcony, be submitted. Looks like a new one's been added here. The final specifications for the proposed replacement windows be submitted. In fact, that was already, I think, in here. I think we're just highlighting it for the committee. So they will be submitted. That the proposed masonry restoration work conform to the restoration guidelines, of course, and that the final details and specs be submitted for that masonry restoration. That the specifications and methodology for the proposed repair and restoration of the historic doors and entry be submitted. Remember that was described. And and then the applicant make every reasonable effort for salvage and reuse of materials, including any historic stone removed as part of the renovations, such that they could be reused for repairs to the retained portions of the building, which I don't think we even talked about salvage. So it's good to see that in there as a proposed condition. So that being said, may I have a mover and a seconder to recommend approval of the heritage permit?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yes, go ahead. Alyssa.
Sorry, Karen.
No, we
Graham
didn't
has
ever really
his,
came to the.
Yep.
yeah, Graham has
the
his hand up,
window.
and I just wanted to
Yep.
make sure before you vote that if you
Exactly.
want that
Yep.
highlighted one to be amended.
Yeah.
That's correct. That's what I was going to bring up. That it comes back to us, not staff.
Okay, so that one.
Can I suggest, sorry, Karen,
Please do.
that we could word that to say to the satisfaction of staff following review and advice by, or something along the lines of it's to us, but that it
Consultation?
comes to, yes, through after consultation back with the subcommittee, something along those lines.
Yeah.
That seems fine to me, and that's okay with, is that all right with you, Carol, too? Sounds reasonable?
Yes, sounds great.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, then, with that adjustment, which we will finalize the wording, may I move and seconder to recommend approval of Heritage Permit HP 2025-039, subject to these staff recommended conditions. See Matthew, and I see Graham. Thank you. And is there anyone opposed? No. Okay. Yes, as others have said, this is a great project. I think it's going to be beautiful too. So, pleased to help you move it along. Yeah, there were a lot of questions, and I hope you understand why, because it is so big, and there's, and the building has gone through so many changes. So it'll be nice to have it back. Okay, so, and before you leave, we have one more application with your name on it. So, HP 2025-040, 265 Mill Street South in Flamborough, Braeborn, Part 4 property, and pertaining to the application is for demolition of the detached accessory structures. So that would be the garage at the back. And if there's anything, Kathy, briefly that you want to highlight for us on this, please feel free.
Well, only really to say that where that detached structure is, and I believe the information about that was in your agenda package. That's actually where the new modern addition sort of sits. So that's why that has to go. It's not. I don't believe it's actually included in the designation bylaw, is it, Alyssa? No. And it isn't, it's not something that's sort of adding anything to the property. It's sort of just a little bit of an eyesore. So that's really it for that structure.
Yep, understood. Okay. Are there any, thank you. Are there any questions from the committee on that one? Alyssa?
Sorry, thanks folks, through the chair. Just to clarify, this is similar to the Century Manor proper application you saw recently. As Kathy mentioned, the existing detached structures on the site, there's the garage, and I wasn't sure if there's also a very small hut that's also near the southern end, so that's why we worded it the way we did, just structures.
Okay.
Under the Heritage Act, even if they're not identified heritage attributes, the demolition or removal of any building or structure requires a heritage permit, and it has to go to council. So this is a technicality requirement, but it's not a heritage feature. Kathy does speak to it in her reporting, but that's why we separated it out, because it is a different type of application that has to go to council and will require further review by the main heritage committee before it can be approved.
Okay. Any questions or concerns? Okay, I don't see any. So that's great. Thank you. Lisa, could you please put up the proposed conditions? And they are the standard conditions, nothing surprising here, and no details, extra details we needed, and 2 years until expiry. And I'm sure that'll be handled before then. This project is moving ahead. So may I have a mover and a seconder to recommend approval of heritage permit HP 2025-040, subject to these staff recommended conditions? I see Katie and I see Andy. Thank you. And is there anyone opposed? Seeing none, that motion is carried. Okay, thank you very much, guests, for hanging through the whole meeting. And we appreciate your time and good luck with the project.
Yeah.
I'm sure we may be seeing you again in the future. You never know. That'd be great. And so as there is no other business, I adjourn the meeting at 6:46 p.m.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you all. And
Bye,
our
everyone.
next meeting for the committee, our next meeting is November 18th, 2025. We'll see you then.
Thanks, folks. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great job, Karen.